Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IAM Love Builders radio. I'm gonna say radio show. Welcome to IAM Love Builders. We're your hosts, Casper and Cheryl Stockham, and we are so glad that you chose to join us today.
Yeah, we're a little rusty.
No, we would like to give a great big shout out to our broadcast partners. Thank you for tuning in with us today. I Am Love Builders is a show that's dedicated to all things dealing with relationships and communication, regardless if you're married or single. Our heart's desire for you is that you will become an MVP,
Yes.
the most valuable partner in your marriage or relationship. We are dedicated and we're just passionate about you having a strong and healthy marriage.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to the show.
And if you're not having fun,
You're not doing it right.
All right. Hey, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. And Cheryl and I just recorded a TV show, and it's going to air on the 21st of November. And we have a premiere coming up that we will just blast out information on to everyone. We also have a card game that was introduced during that TV show, Winning with Love. And we're looking for couples to do beta testing on that card game. So that's exciting. We have a lot of services that we provide with I Am Love Builders Media. We have a TV, movie production, podcast promotion, micro network platform, pay-per-view platform, video business directory, and TV advertising. We can talk to you about all those if you would like. We have 2 micro networks that we are signing up talent for those micro networks. So if you have a podcast and you want to get it on TV, let us know. We also have a free Facebook group with the Most Valuable Partner, Most Valuable Podcast Network. Mm-hmm. And we do 15-minute interviews and all kinds of training and support from that Facebook group. And we wrote a book last year called Divorce Proofing Your Marriage. It is available on Amazon. And hit the hot new release on Amazon as well. And we have a Most Valuable Partner Club call that we do twice a month. And we just did one on Friday. So every 2 weeks we do that. And we all have a training as well, free training. All right. Wow.
You got a breath, aren't you?
You're doing a lot of stuff, girl. What is all that stuff you doing? Oh, my goodness.
Hello, everyone, and just welcome. It's been a little while. We've been busy.
Been busy, girl. Oh, my goodness. So we had our anniversary a couple weeks ago.
It was 28th of September.
Yep. So we married 22 years, and we did a staycation this time. So
yes.
We sent our daughter off to parts unknown. No, we sent
her to visit her aunt
in Phoenix. And we just kind of hung out here and just kind of tooled around Colorado, which is a beautiful place to just kind of tool around.
Yes.
But then we decided, I don't know who decided, maybe it was joint. Well, we went to this workshop. No, we went to this event.
No, we went to the event, which was your choice because
Life Surge event. So we went to a Life Surge event because I wanted to meet Nick. I'm saying Wojciech. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he's the guy with no arms and no legs. Mm-hmm. And Nick does more in an afternoon than we do all week. So he's very busy and very motivational.
Yes, he is.
I wanted my picture. I should have uploaded that picture of Nick. I have it on the computer. I have to do that next week. Yeah. But I finally got my picture with Nick I've been wanting for like 10 years. And so he was there. And then they said, hey, we have these great workshops to learn about stocks and finances,
money,
and real estate.
Yes.
Sign me up.
But we have been praying to God saying, hey, we want to learn more about this. Yeah, what do we do? Because we want to learn it from a kingdom perspective.
Right.
And voila, he said, I heard you. Here it is.
Here it is. Let's do it. So we spent 2 weekends in a row going through those trainings, learned a ton.
And it was a lot because each workshop was 3 full days.
Yeah. Friday, Saturday, and
Sunday from like 9 to 6.
Every day.
Yeah.
Now, but it was different though because they had worship on Sunday. And
Yes, they did.
It was very Christian oriented. They prayed before, prayed after, prayed in and prayed out.
Right.
So it was a really great time. We learned a ton of information, even some scary financial information.
Yes.
So we shared some of that on Friday. So you should listen to the training we did on Friday, but just kind of to sum it all up, if your money is in the market, you might want to talk to your financial advisor to get some updates on what could be coming our way, especially after the election. So I'm just, we're not financial advisors, but we listen very intently during the workshop, and they showed us case by case and point by point as to why the market is overdue for a major correction. And if you have your money in a 401k or whatever, it might be vulnerable to that change.
So all in all, what we really learned was that you need to learn how to protect your investments.
Yeah, you need to definitely know how to do that. Yeah, so it was a really good time. I don't know what. I almost don't even know how to describe it. Going through the workshop.
It was refreshing because we did learn a lot of things that we did not know.
Right.
And even some of the things that we did know, we got to know it at a deeper level.
Much deeper level,
Yeah.
because, we have, small stocks here and there that we invested in. But what we didn't have is stop losses. So we learned about the stop loss, which is I can protect my money and stop. Yeah. So if you have stocks, you can put in a stop loss. So if the market does crash, it only drops down to a certain level, and I've sold the insurance before and stuff like that. And you sold real estate, and we were in the mortgage business. So we were kind of familiar with the money market, if you will. But we learned a lot of details that we didn't know before, like stop loss and so forth.
They took it to a whole new level.
Yeah. We learned about futures. We learned about options.
Right.
So we didn't know much about those two before. So definitely a lot of great information. Now, you can get a lot of this information for free, but I suggest if you have any concerns about your financial portfolio, I strongly recommend that you take some classes or get some advice.
Information.
Get some information because
be educated.
Yeah, because every 10 years there's this major market correction or shift or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And we are overdue for the next one. And they said that the reason why it hasn't happened yet is because of COVID, kind of postponed it. But they said we are overdue for it. And Warren Buffett and some large investors are pulling their money out and putting it in cash, setting it aside, putting it in cash. So that's a clear indication that something big is coming. So you won't hear about this on the news because they don't care or they don't know until it's too late.
Right.
So you need to take advantage of it before that. All right. So we're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to bring in our special MVP guests who are on the line with us. They're in the green room. Bruce and Olivia figured they're going to help us pronounce their name correctly, but I believe that's how we pronounce it. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we will bring in our special MVP guest as soon as I find the right thing to play.
Yeah, you're a little rusty too. Huh?
I'm a little rusty on it. Yes, it's been 3 weeks. All right, we'll be right back in just a minute. All right, Casper and Cheryl here with IAM Love Builders. We're kind of working the kinks out of our rustiness and we get back into the swing of things here. But we have some really special MVP guests we want to bring on, Bruce and Olivia. So pronounce your last name for me.
Figured. So figure and the color red, put it together. Yeah.
I knew that because you told me that a couple months ago, but I forgot.
And you already forgot. Yeah. I know. And that's when I first met him. I couldn't pronounce it either. So took some practice.
Well, guys, welcome to the IAM Love Builders show. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing great. Yeah. Happy
Okay, so
Days.
we have
Sunday.
Yeah. Busy weekend.
busy weekend. So we have 5 segments to unpack a lot of stuff. You know, we want to hear about you guys and stuff. This is a marriage and relationship show, so we're glad that you're here and you're happily married. So that's a good start. But we want to hear about how you guys.
Your love story.
Yeah, we want to hear your story. So how did you guys meet? What was it 20 years ago?
22 years ago.
22 years ago. Do
Yeah.
you want to share a story or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. We met through my aunt. So my aunt worked at a hospital that he worked at, and she had told me about a year or so before meeting him, I have this guy I just think you should meet. And, you know, I kind of pushed it off to the side. And then she simultaneously had been telling him, I have some girl my niece that I'd like you to meet. And I think he was, you know, dating somebody else at the time. And so was I. But fast forward close to a year. And one day I called her and I said, let me meet that guy. I actually was kind of interested in his profession. And it just so happened that, you know, he was out of a relationship and so was I. And we met briefly and he said something that made me laugh. And I thought he has a good sense of humor, which is, you know, an attractive quality to me. But he was a little hesitant to meet me because my aunt had showed him my picture prior to meeting me. And
she kept showing the picture of her, or showed the picture of her to me a few times, and she had big 80s hair and it was like puffed out to here, and it was like I thought, well, is this picture taken recently? Because that looks like it's like 15 years ago. And
my high school picture. So yeah, he wasn't too smitten, I guess, on the picture, but I reeled him in when we met.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people don't realize that humor really bonds people. You know, a lot of women are attracted to guys that are not like comedian funny, but you know, they have a sense of humor.
Absolutely. Well, at least speaking for myself, absolutely.
Yeah. I think
it's also something, you know, like I think when people have a sense of humor and they can see, you know, the funny things in life, especially when you're going through stressful periods in your life, and you know, like life always throws stressful things at you, and you know, if you're able to laugh together and get through things together, it's, you know, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
we had to do a lot of laughing because we didn't have anything else. We had the money to do anything else.
Yeah.
All we had was each other and laughing.
Yes. And Casper was pretty witty, so that was interesting because when I first met him, he didn't come across that way. But as I got to talk to him, I realized, he's got a little bit of a humor. He's kind of funny. So laugh as well. I laugh all the time.
Bruce is quite I wouldn't say comedian, but he does impersonations. He can always keep people laughing. And but yeah, exactly what he said. I think it carries you through. I mean, even when you're having the hardest day and you can learn to like laugh about it, you know, it just absolutely takes the edge off.
All right. So you have this first date after the aunt was trying to make this connection happen.
Yes.
And so tell us what happened then.
I'll tell her. I'll tell her. Talk about it. Yeah. So we made we called each other, made arrangements for a date. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 days after we met, I think. I think it was like a Friday night, July 9th.
Yep.
2002.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah, we went to this really nice restaurant that I'd just eaten at a few times. It's called Top of the Market. It's here in San Diego, overlooks the bay and everything. And I didn't know, you know, I at that point I was, how old was I? Close to 30, somewhere around there. And been on dates before. So she comes over to my house, and then we go to this restaurant. And one of the first things that happened, like on the drive over there, is like she was making jokes. I'm like, oh, she has a sense of humor. Like she's funny. She was kind of teasing me about my driving and everything. And then dinner went great and had a great time at dinner. And then came back home and
then he proposed.
No. Came back home and said, "Want to get married?" No, came back home and then you know, like being that age, I don't know, but haven't been a lot of dates, but you know, like I had a long-term girlfriend like during my 20s of 7 years, and the next day, you know, I was kind of thinking about it, or even that night, I'm like, I really haven't been on a date with somebody that I felt like I clicked with. And then I called one of my good friends. I said, I think I'm going to marry her. Like after the first date, just because it was just, you know, a date that just seemed right. And then, oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I just feel like we've always said everything in our relationship has been pretty effortless. And it's like it just all fell into place at the right time. I mean, he had just finished school, just everything was in God's timing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
but I also have to say, just to throw in, when I first met him, we met at a hospital that he worked at briefly. We were going to do lunch, but he couldn't make it happen. So it wound up just being my aunt and I. And when I saw him, I'm like, I was interested in what he did as a profession and learning about the career. And you know, he was wearing his like collared shirt, and I don't know. I don't know.
Fuzzball head.
I like curly hair. I don't know if I was just instantly attracted. And so then 2 nights later, we go out on our date, and my mom's like, "Oh, make sure you look cute." I'm like, "Oh, I already met him. I don't think anything's gonna happen." But then that was the time when you could still talk on your cell phone driving.
Yeah.
And I was on my phone with him, and he was trying to give me directions where to pull in. And when I came up the street and saw him standing outside, he was just wearing a different shirt, has these nice big muscles, and just totally looked different. And then I thought to myself, maybe this is going to go somewhere. And then the personality took off, and it felt like such a perfect fit, really.
So what were you thinking after the first date?
I don't know if I was at the point where I knew I was going to marry him, but I definitely had, it was a good date, and I wanted to see where it went from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't long after that. It was a couple dates after that. He was cooking for me, and he's quite the chef, a little bit of a mad scientist in the kitchen, because he's just, you know, doing this and that, but his presentation, his cooking, is the taste of the food. It's all like phenomenal. And so while I was watching him like cooking in the kitchen that night and just what he prepared for me, I remember sitting there watching him and thinking, I really like this guy.
Okay. We're going to pick that up here in just a second. You are listening to I Am Love Builder Show with Casper and Cheryl, and we are here with our MVP guests, Olivia and Bruce Figuered.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Yeah, no.
All right, we are back with I Am Love Builder Show, and we are so excited to have our special MVP guest in studio, Bruce and Olivia Figuered. And so Bruce is Mr. Chef, and he decides that, you know what, I know how to win this lady over. I'm going to cook some food. So what were you cooking, Mr. Bruce?
It was grilled shrimp with like a mango salsa and I don't know, some side dish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would have fell for that one.
Let me tell you, like, one of the meals he also made for me at first was filet, and not only is it just like a piece of filet, but he cut it into strips. Mm-hmm. And then he made Gouda, like mashed potatoes that you throw in Gouda cheese. Mm-hmm. And he made it like in the formation of a volcano. And then he put the strips around like the volcano with the sauce coming out, whatever sauce. I don't remember what it was.
It's like peppercorn.
A peppercorn sauce. Yeah.
Wow.
That was coming out of the volcano. So it's things like that. It's over the top and delicious at the same time.
So
you won my heart.
So I worked in restaurants while I was making my way through school, like Italian restaurants, and I was a sous chef for a while, and so it was sort of, you know, a way to pay for, you know, pay my way while I was going through school all those years, 10 years of college.
So Cheryl and I, our second date, she cooked and I brought over greens because I know how to cook a mean pot of greens. I don't know if you even know what greens are. But,
No,
Yeah.
I'm thinking salad.
No,
No.
collard greens. Yeah.
collard greens.
Collard greens.
There you go. Yeah, he's definitely a chef. So I knew how to cook collard greens, and Cheryl made something.
I make the rest of the meal, the salad, the meat, and what else.
And that second date, I proposed to her that second date.
Oh wow.
And I was stumbling and mumbling, and she was like, "What are you talking about, man?" It was very awkward, but
Yeah.
we
my proposal to her, I made arrangements. This was like, how long did we date for? A year? Right around a year?
A year and a half.
Oh wow.
Year and a half. Yeah. So I made arrangements for dinner at that same restaurant that we went to on our first date, and then had all the meal already ordered and everything, had flowers there and all that sort of stuff. And I had played a soccer game earlier in the day, and got home, picked her up, took her to dinner, and then when I was proposing to her, I got down on one knee and my hamstring cramped up.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a little awkward.
But
a little sympathy proposal.
Yeah.
there you go.
And she said yes.
Yes, I did. It was very nice. Yeah, my parents were there waiting in the bar area for us, and so he had that all prearranged too, so that they could be there after the fact, and that was very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm impressed, Bruce.
Yes.
Quite the romantic you are.
Yeah.
He is.
Okay. Do you clean too, Bruce?
Not really well. No. a lot better at making messes in the kitchen.
He's
than
better than he used to be.
Yeah.
There's a little nagging probably from me, but we have 4 boys, and so it's.
Oh, wow.
I think it's me going around. Well, one of them's off at college now, but I'm kind of the nag of the house about cleaning, and wind up doing a lot of it just myself because I can only handle it for so long.
Right.
We have a big family. My sister lives, lived across the street from us, and she had 4 kids. They're all in their 20s now, but we have a lot of people that come to our home, and there's just, I don't know, he's always cooking for everybody. So they all get to enjoy the food, and I get to clean the mess, but it's all in good company.
We kind of joke about it. It's kind of like a sitcom at our house. There's, on any given day, there's, 3 or 4 teenagers from my oldest son or my middle son or the neighbors, and her mom and dad live a mile away. And so they pop in almost every night. And so it's kind of the hub of the whole family, that everyone comes here and gets together. And, that's one thing that, before right after we had kids, we wanted this to be the place that the kids came to and felt like home for them. And, so that you really have a good understanding of what your kids are up to, who they're hanging out with, who their friends are. And, when I think that parents really, or kids get into a lot of trouble when they kind of go astray, especially when they become teenagers.
Yeah. So we definitely have that house. Even I mentioned our oldest son is away at college, and he still has a couple of his good friends that come over often, and it's an open door. So when we were referencing the sitcom, it is truly like how, those old shows where people just walk in, and that happens at our home all the time. But,
they're in college, so he's away, and like a couple of his good friends they know the garage code, so they'll come in, they'll use the gym in the garage, and then they'll pop in the house. They'll be making food in the kitchen,
food. I mean,
now it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's neat.
That is awesome. I love that. I like that type of environment of family. Yeah, I like that. We need more of that to be happening in our world today.
I always thought, especially when I was a young father, that and we've talked about this before on one of Olivia's podcasts, but, if you're a really good parent and your kids really respect you when they hit their teenage years and friends become the most important thing, if you had built that foundation of the relationship with them, then that relationship will continue through their teenage years when they reach that phase and their friends become, more important than when they're younger kids. Right. So,
well, the good thing is that once you set that foundation, as you say, Bruce, then the friends also become like family too, like what you just described. That even though he may not be there, the friends are still stopping by. So that means you have provided in your home security, not only for your children, but also for their friends.
Yeah.
That's a nice word. Yeah.
Sounds like a very loving and secure environment for children to grow in. Now, how old? So, okay, so you have 4 boys. One is off to college. What are the other ages?
This is where it gets really funny.
Yeah.
18 is the oldest,
Yeah.
16. Then we have a gap, and then we have a 10-year-old, and then we have another gap, and we have a 4-year-old,
Oh
almost
my
5.
goodness.
So
Wow.
we've literally been raising kids for almost 2 decades. And so
Yeah.
at this point, you know, as we love our little one tremendously, but it's kind of like been there, done that, you know, you know, we still try to nurture that as much as possible, but it gets hard when he, you know, one day he's like, Mom, you want to play pirates with me? And I'm like, no.
We've been doing pirates for 20 years.
but it's actually, it's amazing. We weren't expecting to have that 4th child, and or weren't planning on having that 4th child originally. And we recently lost my sister about a year ago, and she passed away from cancer. And my parents are nearing, you know, their 80s, and so she had a 2-year journey with the cancer. I really feel like our little son was this like core during that time for everybody, and just, you know, brought a lot of light into like her life, into my parents' life. And I can see now, like, just the timing on it was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break right there. And you are watching I Am Love Builder Show with Casper and Cheryl. We have our MVP guests in studio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, we are back with I Am Love Builder Show, Casper and Cheryl. We have our MVP guests, Bruce and Olivia Figuered. And Olivia, you were talking to us about your sister. Now, this is a sister that lived across the street, or?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is the family still there across the street?
Not as much. They're right now preparing to get the house sold, and the 2 of my nephews one of my nephews is off to college and law school in Oklahoma. My niece is in the Pasadena area. And then I had 2 other of my nephews that were living in that house still. And they both actually just found a place of their own so that they could have the house empty to be able to sell it. So yeah, definitely a lot of changes. And then also, like, you know, with our son going off to college, it was like a lot of changes within our family. But you know, everyone's doing okay.
Amen.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to get to that because I think, if I remember correctly, that's why you started your podcast. Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something that I had always wanted to do. My degree was actually in journalism, and I worked in the news industry briefly. But I was just really negative, and it wasn't conducive to being a mom because you had to work, you know, evenings and weekends and things like that.
Yeah.
So I always thought it would be fun to do the good news of the day, but that doesn't really sell in our news world. So the podcast was something I had always thought about, but after my sister had passed, there goes our dog. After my sister had passed, I started it off with my mom. My mom is my spiritual teacher. She has a way to teach me things in a way that resonate with me. And so I started off with that. Mainly, I wanted to capture her wisdom and be able to share that with, you know, my kids for when they're ready for it, or my sister's kids. And then from there, it just started with, you know, other guests that all have stories of testimonies or teachings, and just want to use it as a platform to help encourage people that are going through challenges or disappointments, and find ways to uplift other people that might be going through the same things with a faith-based backing. I had one guest that was, wasn't anything really related to spirituality, but he was a gambler, and, you know, and now he teaches on how not to be into gambling, but his message behind it is delayed gratification. And to do that, it was practicing, mindfulness, slowing down, journaling, all things that to me kind of speak spirituality and being able to have that stillness and slowness. And so, I think there's messages in all of it. So I try to capture that, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, so that podcast is called Peaceful Presence Podcast, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what platforms do you have that on right now?
It's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
Okay, very good. Very good. Yeah, I did an interview with Olivia a couple months ago, and we talked about her podcast and stuff going on. So I knew about her sister. So, so you guys are both. Well, Olivia, do you work out at home? Outside of home?
I do. I work. No,
Sort of.
I do a few different things. I also have been in the mortgage industry for a couple decades as well, and finance doesn't thrill me as much anymore. And then I also do work for his company a little bit as well. They have a podcast for their company that I run, and I do a little bit of other duties at their job.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why I was asking is because basically you both are professionals that work outside the home or in a professional arena.
Yes.
Plus, you have a growing family. What are some tips or some strategies or some things that you guys have done over the years to kind of manage all
that? I do that a lot.
Yeah. We both went to circus school and trained in juggling and being acrobats. So that's helped.
It is challenging, and it takes a village. And fortunately, as you mentioned, I had family around. So, I had between like my parents, my sister, who was all very close in proximity to us. That certainly helped. And there were times where I was busier and I had to have, it was kind of like a nanny for a little while that I really, and I needed some extra assistance. But no, I mean, I could share so many stories of where I'm running behind the house while kids are chasing me, trying to hold a professional conversation, hiding in my car so I can take a call. Like I've got lots of those stories.
With your dad knocking on the window saying, "Where are you?"
Yeah. But I don't know. I think you just find a way to really make it work. And, I like my home to be clean, but sometimes you just have to shift your priorities. And it's like, okay, it couldn't be clean today because we had to do other things. And you just kind of have to figure out what's most important to get done today. And if you get that one thing done, great. The rest of it, we'll worry about tomorrow.
Yeah. Did you guys have any challenges during the COVID times?
I feel like I keep talking, but yes, I have to share my challenge. Let me share you my challenge. I'm in the mortgage industry at that time. That was a little bit of probably my burnout time. So if you were in it, then as you know, when you get busy in real estate or loans, like you kind of have to ride that wave because it might not last for very long.
Right.
So now during COVID, this was the absolute busiest time. I think everybody else was home. They're like, oh, what should we do? Let's refinance. Rates are low. And so I was off the charts as busy as I ever have been. I just had a baby in October of 2019. So right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
My other 3 children got sent home, obviously, and had to do homeschool on Zoom. So we're trying to navigate that. A newborn baby. That's when I needed a nanny to help. So fortunately, I had a friend that lost her job during that time, and she came and helped me, and it was a godsend. But that was such a struggle. Then he's in like the healthcare industry, so he didn't slow down either. Like both of us. Yeah, that was a very, very, very busy time, and it didn't stop. The wave never ended for like 2 years. It felt like. Mm-hmm. And then when it was done, we didn't allow the mandates and the school mandates in California to affect our children, though. I mean, we got them enrolled in in-person schooling. That was able. Yeah, as soon as we were able to do that, because and you see the after effects with kids, that were forced to stay at home and doing school on a computer, which wasn't really school.
And the biggest learning that kids get, especially when they're young like that, is by being with friends and being with kids and interacting. It's social learning that's really so important. So, it was devastating for a lot of kids during that time. And even now there's just a lot that's happened as a result of that. But, we were blessed to be able to find schools that we could put our kids into. And one of the schools
shortly thereafter, like obviously at the beginning, everything was
everything was shut down. Yeah.
The following year we made a plan to find places where they could be in
person
learning. And it was tough.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. Wow.
Everybody else was telling us stories how they were getting all these projects done around their house. I'm like, we're just trying to keep our head above water right now. It was a lot.
Yeah, my job didn't slow down at all. I mean, we were actually going through a growth phase during that time, and so I was, driving from here to Ventura however many times a week, and flying to like other parts of California. It's part of the growth of the company, and the traffic was good though. I'm always on the road.
I know, right.
What's a 5-hour drive from here to Ventura then was like a 2-hour drive. You just like whiz right on up there.
There you go. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to I Am Love Builder Show with Casper and Cheryl with our special MVP guest. We'll be right back in just a moment. All right, we are back with I Am Love Builder Show, Casper and Cheryl. We have our special MVP guests with us in studio, Bruce and Olivia Figuered. And during the COVID times for us, I was in transportation, and it was a quote unquote essential business, right? So I never stopped 1 second. I was always, and I loved it on the road, Bruce, because like you said, it's like I'm in transportation. I'm like, there's nobody on the road but me.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And Cheryl was in an essential job as well, so we never stopped working during that time. But a lot of people obviously did. It just affected a lot of people differently. But it was I think it was a moment in time that we all, especially we lived through it, we'll never forget those times, because it was tough in different ways for different people. But it was definitely a memorable time in our lives, for sure.
Yeah. So Bruce, tell us exactly, what do you do?
So when I met Olivia, when her aunt introduced us, I just finished my doctorate as a psychologist and got licensed as a psychologist. And I worked for a long time seeing patients at hospitals and doing private practice. And then 11 years ago, I took a job as a director of a treatment facility that treated people that had mental health and addiction problems, and then did that for 6 years until that company was sold to another company, and I was offered this position as the CEO of our company. And when I started in 2019, we started with one treatment center, and we've since grown to 13 different places. And that was trying during COVID, like getting places opened and getting contracts with, especially with insurance companies and other kinds of entities, because they were staying at home and they wouldn't respond to emails and phone calls and everything else. So we're still working. It's still essential, but the people that were responsible for, providing the care for people that really needed it during that time, especially for mental health and addiction, they just were very difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Now, are those locations all in the California area, or do you have some out of state stuff?
Yeah, mostly in California. We have a few locations in Oregon, and then we're building a location in Idaho right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have to travel to those locations, you personally?
I do, yeah.
So are you still in the mental health addiction arena?
Yep. Yeah, the company's mental health and addiction.
Right. So what can you tell us in working in that arena that will help us not end up on that path, especially with addictions? Because addictions could not just necessarily have to be drugs. addictions doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol. It could be food addictions. It could be gambling, shopping, money. So you got any tips for us, Bruce?
Wow. That's a big, it could be a big answer because there's so many things that can kind of play into it. But I think, just on the surface, one of the biggest things I think is how you manage stress. And, like something that we were talking about earlier with, relationships, support, your family as support, and then how you cope with stress, and what Olivia mentioned about staying grounded through it all. I mean, I think, when you see people that whether they wind up using drugs or alcohol or gambling or doing all these kinds of things related to addiction, or they develop anxiety disorders or depression, like they're all stress induced at the end of the day. And so as like the more that you understand yourself and the more that you understand, what you are prone to as an individual, because we're all different, just like our fingerprints are all different, we're all different. So the things that we need to do individually within ourselves to manage stress in our life, I think is, kind of the key in my opinion.
I'm going to piggyback on that because there is, I do a little bit of work and obviously do these podcasts for his company also. So a common theme that comes up, or a saying that they have, is that connection is the opposite of addiction. And so if you think about it in terms of whether it's, substance abuse, or even the, person I spoke to who had a gambling addiction, I feel like more than ever, we are in this very, very fast-paced society, and things like immediately, whether it's our groceries or the things that we're buying. I mean, we're all guilty of it. Before we used to have to come home and log on our computer to go look something up, and now everything is right there at our fingertips.
Right.
So we've just become programmed to just getting things instantaneously, and it's just put us in this hyper state of stress, I think.
Yeah.
So I think figuring out activities that keep you connected, whether it's with another person, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with God, nature, whatever it is, or really your passion, because we all have a passion and something inside of us that's unique to us, and trying to discover that and bring that out in our day to day and let it ignite something in you. I think it takes away the desire for doing other things that maybe don't feed your spirit,
I don't know how. One thing that I've heard, there was a counselor that I worked with, and he would do a family program when people came in. So he'd bring the families in, talk about, the importance of family involvement when somebody's going through treatment. But one of the things that he said when he was talking to families is that there was a campaign during the 1980s I think it was by Nancy Reagan, of the Just Say No campaign. And so the Just Say No campaign really was not very effective, because you can't just say no to something. You have to say yes to something. So like where there's a void, it has to be replaced. Like either it's replaced with things that are grounded and connected, or you are going to be right back in the same place again.
Yeah, it was only addressing half of the problem, right? You just say no, okay, but what am I saying yes to?
Right.
I know when we were growing up, when the microwave first showed up, this was like a great thing, because you could get your meal quick. You could just pop it into the microwave, right? But what happened was it kind of took away the family dinner time scene, because kids come home, we don't have to wait for mom to do whatever, or dad to do whatever.
Just pop it in the
microwave, right? But that took away that gathering. And it sounds like you guys were able to keep some of that still flowing and stuff, but a lot of families, it's tough, right? And then now today with technology, right, the cell phones, and now I even look at the Amazon thing, right? Because if I need something, I may see it somewhere else, but I need it now, right? So I need to order it on Amazon, because I know in 2 days, probably max, it's going to be at my front door.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and I think that, gets into, and we're so guilty of that, especially with all these kids. I mean, Instacart, DoorDash, Amazon, so guilty of it. It's become a too inconvenient or too convenient. But at the same time, it's like doing things like going on a walk every day, journaling, finding ways to slow down, I think are really important too.
All right. We're going to take another quick break. You're listening to I Am Love Builder Show with Casper and Cheryl, and we have our special MVP guest in studio. We'll take another quick break. Actually, this is our last break for the show. So take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back with I Am Love Builders Show. We have our special MVP guests in the studio, Bruce and Olivia Figuered, and we just have been having a great discussion about family and all the things that make up the challenges that we all face and the ability for us to get through it. You guys have been married for 20 years, been together for 22 years. Cheryl and I have been married for 22 years, and I actually proposed to Cheryl a week after we met.
I guess when you know, you know.
Yeah.
I knew that night. She did not know that night, but I knew that night. And, we went to the movies, and I found out she liked a lot of the same action movies, all the stuff that I liked and everything. And then we talked for 3 hours after the movie. Mm-hmm. And by the time we were done talking 3 hours after, I'm like, wow, God, that was pretty quick. Because I had asked God, I said, I really want to be married, but I'm failing at this whole marriage thing. My testimonial is I've been married before, several times before, and they were all failures. And I wanted to be married, but the right one hadn't shown up. And I said, God, if she exists out there, please just, have her flash in front of my mind, because I don't know how to pick them, obviously. And 2 weeks later, I got the vision of Cheryl. Now, I knew of Cheryl and she knew of me, but we never talked about any kind of relationship. In fact, she didn't like me at all. So, but after that first date, we had another date the week after, and that's when I brought the greens over. And then I asked her to marry me, and then she's like, "What the world?" No. And then it took me 2 more weeks. Me and the Holy Spirit, it took us 2 weeks to kind of wear her down to where she said yes.
Cheryl,
But then
what were you thinking on date 2 when he asked you?
Oh, wow. I was just like, what is he saying? What? I said, do you understand what you just said to me? And so I said, we're going to talk about this later. I was like, I can't even wrap my mind around this. Getting married. I mean, I just met you. but I am a prayer. So I did pray a lot, and I kept asking the Holy Spirit, like, okay, is this real? Is he real? Is he the right one? Or is this? But a long story short, he actually proposed to me on the 16th of August, and we got married on the 28th of September.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Of the same year. So about 5 weeks later, we were married. Yeah. And it was something similar to what you said. It was like a hand in glove. It just fit.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah, there was the word you used was effortless. I think that was the word you used.
Yeah.
And it was the same way with us. It wasn't, people kept telling us, that first year is hard, you're going to struggle, and all of this, really negative stuff, and just expect it's going to be like this. But we didn't have any of that.
No.
Yeah.
It just flowed. It was right. And I think a lot of it had to do with that we were more mature because we were older when we got married. Mm-hmm. And we'd already had enough drama and mistakes and failures. And we had grown to a maturity where we said, okay, individually, where we just were thinking, we got to do things different because this isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I believe the first thing to do was to really include the Holy Spirit in this and in more of our life decisions instead of doing it on our own, because it wasn't working.
Had you been married before as well?
No, I have not been married before.
Yeah.
So this is my first, and he says my only marriage.
Yep. Absolutely.
But I believe that it was, I don't know, I want to say, you also said something that it wasn't necessarily I was overly attracted to him when I first met him. So I didn't have that either. So it wasn't one of those things like, oh my gosh, he's so gorgeous. Or just, that wasn't it. And plus I think I was more mature. I'm past that. Pretty face can still lead you to misery.
Yeah.
And at my age at that time was like, I don't want to be married and miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All her friends were struggling in their marriages and stuff like that. And she said, I do not want to be, unfortunately, I don't want to be like any of my friends, know, and it was tough. So,
but it just,
well, there's so much, I mean, there's so many things, like when you've been married, as long as you've been married and we've been married, there's so many things that life throws at you. And, before we came on, I was really kind of thinking about, well, I'm going to be asked, like, well, what is the key to your marriage? Like, what keeps you together? Like, why, how is it that, how is it that you've been able to stay together? Like, is there something that you guys, really kind of point to with that?
For us?
Yeah.
It's just being real with each other. When we have an issue, we just talk about it. We don't see conflict as a problem. We see it as a way to get closer together. So we work through that. Now, we didn't start out from day one, with those thoughts. This happened over time, but we teach this. It's what we do in workshops and things. We have a big couples retreat coming up at the end of this month for our church. There's like 22 couples are going to be there. So we've been teaching this for 16 years, and it's just been respecting each other and being open and communicating with each other when we have something going on.
And I also believe it's being really grounded spiritually.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's my key. I mean, that's my anchor. I go to the Lord for everything. I go to the Holy Spirit. And when I mess up, I still go, okay, I missed it this time. So what do I need to do differently? Being open and willing to forgive. Forgiveness is a big thing.
Yeah, huge.
When we were going through our struggles, because we got married in September, and at the time I was in a transition, because right about the time we got married, then was it 9/11 that happened? The bottom fell out of the real estate
and stuff,
and
mortgage markets.
That was happening, and then he was in IT, and then that January he got laid off.
Yeah.
So here we were both without jobs. And I was determined. I know that people get angry with each other. And I knew it was like, it's not his fault. We are where we are, and God's going to show us how to work through this. And to make a long story short, we just stayed in tune with the Lord. We stayed in tune with each other. We kept love in the forefront, and we just made it through.
Yeah. And we didn't blame each other for the things that were going on. We knew it was kind of out of our control. So we just it almost brought us closer together, because all we had was each other. We didn't have the family dynamic you were talking about, where we have other family members coming in and out. Cheryl's family was in St. Louis. My family was on the East Coast in different places. So it was just us.
Yeah.
So we just kind of hunkered in, and now 22 years later, we're teaching couples and writing books and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's all become part of your story and how you can help teach others how to navigate through it too.
Yeah. Hey guys, we are at the end of the show, but we are so thankful you guys came on. You are now our favorite MVP members.
Thank you for having us. I have to say one thing. I do think he's so handsome now. It was just that very first time I met him.
I agree.
That's my husband.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had the wrong slide. Let me do this one. So we want you to grab our free ebook from our website. It's IAMLoveBuilders.com. The first 5 chapters are in that ebook, and they're free. You can take a free 5 or 20-minute love assessment also from our website. We want you to become MVPs. It stands for Most Valuable Partner in Your Relationship. when you are working on becoming an MVP and your spouse is as well, you guys come together, that brings a very strong bond. And at the end of the day, you know what? If you're not having fun,
And
you're not doing it right. So we will see you
Mhm.
guys on the next show. Bye-bye for now.